Hey, good. How's everybody doing? I'll start off real quick like I normally do. The biggest thing that's obviously going to come up talking about this game is we got to convert all of our scoring opportunities. Big picture wise, Badgley's 9 for 10 on field goals. We are 92% on the season. However, we have to be able to make the layups and the free throws that we have, especially PATs. We've missed 3 PATs in 7 games. It's inexcusable. We all know that. I'm not going to get into kind of the kicker evaluation or anything that we have moving forward. And I'll defer to Chris in the front office on any potential roster moves, but we are certainly going to evaluate all kicker options that we possibly have to determine what puts us in the best position to convert all scoring opportunities and be in a position to win football games. And that's certainly some area that we know we have to improve on. And that's going to be the biggest thing that really comes up from this game. From a net punt standpoint, we have to punt the ball better. Rigo, has punted the ball at an extremely high level this season, but we did not punt the ball at the same level in this past game. We ended up out kicking our coverage that allowed them to get 2 returns and give up more return yards than we normally would have. The interior coverage did a good job, and we didn't give up an explosive return in the game, but we gave up return yards that we haven't been doing this season. And we got to make sure we clean that up so the punt and the coverage is all working together. From a kickoff drive start standpoint, I just feel like we did not do our job, and there's some little details that we have to get cleaned up on a kickoff return standpoint that we know we've been able to execute at a really high level for the most part this season on kickoff return, and that did not happen in this game. We got to win at the point of attack. We got to be more detailed with our footwork to be able to do that. There's definitely, some opportunities that we have there that we have to take advantage of. We didn't create an explosive play in this game. We certainly needed that to happen in a big division game. And there really was nothing major to note other than we got to convert all of our scoring opportunities.
Chap.
Yeah, Mace. And again, I know you're not going to get into all the detailed stuff, but when you're deciding what to do with your kicker, and you've got it, missing PATs is just unacceptable. But he's only missed the one field goal, and it was a 53-yarder. How do you balance that, knowing that when you bring in a free agent, that guy was let go because he wasn't kicking good enough? Isn't it pretty complicated?
Yeah. When we're obviously any point in time you're talking about uh, evaluating kickers in week 14 of the season, it's certainly going to be complicated. So obviously that's just the situation we're in. We're going to put ourselves in the best position to be successful, to find the person that we think is going to be able to convert scoring opportunities, obviously be able to work well with our specialist unit, work well as a whole with special teams and be a good fit with the team. All those things are going to come into mind with that. But also, Shane, as the head coach, has to be able to trust the kicker as he's calling the game and working through the game that he's going to be able to make kicks and not impact decisions on going forward and different things like that. So it all plays into hand. The end result field goal wise has been really positive, but obviously PATs go into that evaluation, and it's got to be somebody that everybody's able to trust, both from a front office and head coach standpoint.
Thanks, Mace.
Nathan.
Hey, Brian. Again, I know this isn't necessarily your decision, but when you are looking at or the team is looking at making decisions, evaluating the kicker position, as you mentioned earlier. I know making a decision in week 14 is probably very different than the process you guys would go through in the off season. Obviously, a much shorter window, and your maybe your options there are a little bit more limited. But what do you consider, or what would you prioritize in the traits of someone that you're looking at? Is it being really reliable on those PATs? Is it having a big leg? I'm sure there's a combination, but just didn't know if there was one or two things that you feel like are most important for someone getting in the system and plugging them in at the end of the season right now.
Yeah, so I think it definitely is a different question, Nathan, when we're talking about at the beginning of the year or in the offseason versus in week 14. I think that was a question that certainly talked about, like what we look for in a kicker with Spencer Schrader early in the year. And when we're looking for somebody like a Schrader or somebody that we know we have time to develop and work with, we're looking for somebody that we know has an elite or very special talent for a leg. Number one, because we think with a good operation, with a kicker ball in the NFL, with the hashes being closer to the uprights, you can improve somebody who's got a special talent from college to the NFL and develop them and improve their confidence and routine to be able to take that next step, which is very similar to what happened with Spencer. Obviously, if we're looking at the situation in week 14, we're looking for somebody that's experienced, that we know can handle pressure, that we know can be consistent, to be able to make kicks within games. Obviously, everybody would love somebody that can make 60-yard field goals and make all their PATs and make consistent field goals. But as we're looking at things right now, we're looking, hey, who can make PATs and be reliable to make kicks within 50? Who can we trust to be able to do that for the next 5 weeks and then into the playoffs to be able to make kicks outdoors that we know can handle that pressure? So we're really looking, hey, who has experience, who can be consistent, that can be relied upon to make their free throws and layups that we can depend on.
And on a separate note, you mentioned out the punt team out kicking the coverage in the game on Sunday. How much of that was just the absence of Ashton Doolin, not having him there as a gunner?
Yeah, certainly, great players make great coaches, make great special teams units. Ashton Doolin's a great player, so it's certainly we benefit from him being on the field. But we have to be able to step up in our coverage and our ability as gunners into the punt situation when he's not there, which we did in the Kansas City Chiefs game. We did in the game against the Chargers when Doolin wasn't available. But everything has to be able to work together. So the hang time has to correlate to the distance of the punt to give the gunners an interior coverage player time to get to the returner in time. We ended up hitting 2 punts in this past game that did not have the proper hang time to the standard that we're looking for, which didn't allow those coverage players to get close enough to the returner, which allowed the return to get started. That's not something that I foresee being an issue as we move forward, and Rigo's done a great job, and we'll get that cleaned up.
Gotcha. Thanks.
We'll go with Kevin, and then Joel will be our last question.
Brian, obviously, when you bring in guys for tryouts, you already know their resume. So I guess in the tryout itself, how much of it is just simply charting kicks versus you're looking for something more than just did he make it or did he not make it?
Yeah, just speaking generally about evaluating kickers, certainly the number one thing, it's always easy for people to be able to evaluate, did he make kicks or not make kicks? So that's the number one thing is going to be the top thing you're going to be evaluated on is did you make your kicks or not, and what is your percentage of makes? The next thing that's going to be evaluated on is what did those kicks look like? Did it have good end over end rotation? What is the height and trajectory of the ball? Were the kicks down the middle, or did they tend to mostly go to the left, near the left middle or left upright? Did they go to the right? And then how consistent are you within your mechanics and operation? Do you get lined up the same every single time? Does it look smooth? Do you look confident? Do you have good demeanor and poise to you about it, or do you have kind of a nervous energy? Is there some inconsistencies to that? Like, what is the comfortability of how you work and the confidence that everybody can have in you based on that? And then obviously, anytime we're evaluating kickers, game film is going to be huge, so we can see how they've been able to operate in a big picture. Most kickers, as we're looking at them in week 14, are obviously on the street for a reason. So if we're evaluating new kickers, what is the reason maybe they did not have the success, or the reason that maybe they are on the street? Is that something that we can plug and play in our situation and they'll be set up for more success? There's a variety of different factors as you look into that, but certainly the number one thing being consistency.
Joel, last question.
What have you seen from George Odom since you guys got him?
Yeah, so Gio, it's another veteran guy that is really detailed, really prepared. He kind of, has good insight, being somebody that's played a lot of special teams and played a lot of football at a really high level. Quickly, I was really impressed with him. Just like the first week he was here, I said, hey, here's where the teach tapes are. Here's where the playbook is. I'm going to go through some stuff as we go through it, but I'd like for you to look through it. And then the next time I met with him, he had clearly gone through it. He clearly knew everything he was talking about. I quizzed him on everything. Very sharp, football savvy guy that understands football, is clearly, very, an all ball kind of guy that's really into it. And that he's going to come to you like most veteran guys do. They can come to and provide, hey, here's some feedback, or here's some ideas, or here's what I see when I watch film. And that's all great information to be able to use to have from a guy who's played a lot of football.